So I guess I'm interested just getting some general information. How many kids go to your high school where you teach?
We have an enrollment right around 600.
Okay, 600. And what kind of setting are you currently teaching in? Are you all virtual? Are you in person, hybrid?
We're all virtual, and the teachers are going back on Monday. The
Wow.
school board just met last night and voted to have the teachers go back in the building. We were in the building the first 2 weeks of the school year, and we had such a big COVID just hit people too hard here, and there were too many incidents, and we had people in the building that had COVID and didn't realize it until they got tested. And so nope, we're all going home. And the
Wow.
tribe has been shut down here since about last St. Patrick's Day. So it's been about a year. And when I mean shut down, I mean everything closed. We still had 2 grocery stores open, but all the schools, the buildings were closed, and none of the tribal offices were open. There's some government facilities here that were closed. This was like a ghost town for a while.
Oh my gosh. Wow. So since you're on a reservation, you're under your own jurisdiction. So is that correct?
Sort of. It depends on what you're talking about specifically.
Okay. So in terms of school, who kind of makes those decisions?
The school board. And we have a public school here.
Okay,
it's not a tribal school. It's not a Bureau of Indian Education school. It's a public school.
I guess I'm interested in knowing, when we first did it in my old school, we didn't really know what to do in terms of asynchronous work. Are we meeting them virtually? How did you guys make that transition? So when you first started and to now?
We were having a break at the time when they told us. So we had a couple days to figure out what to do. And I felt really fortunate that I had learned how to do work online pretty much exclusively. And other folks were still doing paper and pencil, and they're like, oh no, what do I do? And since we were all busy with our own classes, it was hard to share out. We English teachers often get together after hours and on the weekends and discuss what we need to do to help the kids. And that helped. Just sharing our information, and we're supportive of each other.
Absolutely. So you guys kind of came together and supported each other as like English teachers.
Right. And there's people in the building who are really good at tech, like our tech mentors and the people in the IT department. They were kind of helpful, but nobody had done this before.
Absolutely.
Totally virtual. And those words synchronous and asynchronous, I hate those words. It doesn't mean anything. And they keep throwing them at us. Quit it. And virtual. Yeah, this is actually really teaching.
Yeah. It is absolutely teaching.
I know.
So what has been the biggest challenge kind of delivering your content virtually or doing it in this medium?
For me, it's the same as in the classroom, getting the kids to be excited about what I'm trying to teach them. And I love to teach classical literature.
What sort of unique challenges have you faced sort of during this time?
The kids who don't have internet. Now the district has provided the kids all with, they call them jetpacks. And I think, I don't know what company it's from, but some places on the reservation can't get signal. And we don't know that. The teachers don't know it. And it's only until the parents will contact the school, and sometimes there's just a lack of communication. That's been the most challenge. I had one of my students contact me today. Thank goodness. I've been writing to her at least once a week, if not more. And she said, well, I just got my computer. Well, we're nearly halfway into the second semester.
Yeah.
You're going to have to probably repeat the whole year.
Wow.
Yeah.
God, that's such a shame. But what can you do?
Yeah. And we had people, I told the people at the school, these are the students that haven't signed in, and they went to her house and they didn't see her. And I said, you have to talk to her, because her brother just said, yeah, everything's fine. No, it wasn't. And that's just one example, out of,
Yeah.
I don't know what the percentage is, but there was probably, I'm going to guess, around 20% of the kids who hadn't signed on yet as of
Wow.
Christmas time. And they're
Wow.
really
Yeah.
attached. Yeah.
Yeah. That's such a problem everywhere. That was a problem in my old school too. Just kids who you didn't hear, you'd heard like neither hide nor hair of them. You didn't know where they were. You didn't know what was going on, especially because I used to teach elementary school. So the kids were super dependent. They needed a lot of support. So how are your kids doing? I guess that's the question. We teachers, we see them in a certain light and we get a read on how they're doing. How are your kids doing?
Different kids are doing really well.
Mm-hmm.
And kids who you would think would really take off with this are not. High school kids, sometimes they want to be the center of attention, but most of the time they want to be left alone.
Yeah.
So in my virtual classrooms, I don't make them turn their cameras on for a couple of reasons. If they're shy, I don't want to make them feel bad and not come back to class. And sometimes their Wi-Fi isn't good enough to have the camera on and listen to what the teacher's saying and talk to each other. They just disappear. And then they always email me, I'm sorry, my Wi-Fi went bad. And I just feel so bad for them. It's not their fault.
Absolutely. I know it's so, yeah, the kids with the Wi-Fi struggles have been, because on the best days in the classroom, you kind of get into a flow, you're in a flow and the kids are in a flow. I found that doing this virtually, it breaks up the flow just like nothing else. Like this kid is in the middle saying, well, I really think that, and they cut out and they're gone. You're like, oh God, or they're like, oh, we couldn't hear you. I'm like, oh, good. It's just the stuff where all the flow is just all broken up.
The kids, they're so helpful. They're like, Miss Grandstaff, we couldn't hear you. Or there's an echo. They just give me the feedback that I need to be able to teach them well. I just love that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I agree. The kids will let you know. The kids will let you know what's going on, usually pretty quickly, and I love that.
Yeah. And they'll stay after school to tell me stuff. They'll wait until everybody's gone out of the class. Almost every class, I have somebody stay who needs to talk to an adult, or they just need to have some feedback themselves. And I just love that. I wish that every kid had a noise canceling headset. Every kid needs one, because they'll try to answer me and you can hear little kids in the background. You can hear a TV, you can hear adults talking to each other. And you know that child does not have a dedicated space for learning. And that's probably true during the regular school year, but it's even more pronounced right now. I just feel so bad for them. And I'm like, can't we just get these? And I brought it up in a staff meeting and it just went, phew. You'd think that somebody could write a grant proposal and get that funded,
Yeah.
And then somebody says, well, what if they use them to play games on? Yay!
Who cares? Yeah.
Right?
When they're out of class, they can do whatever they want with them.
Exactly.
Oh.
Yeah, that's one need that I think we could fill here, but I just can't get anybody on board who can make those decisions. That would be really helpful for these guys. It would help me if I was in a room like that. I'm fortunate in that I live alone and no noise is going on that I'm not in control of, but the kids don't have that.
I see the same thing with so many of my kids. You can just tell their environments are very difficult to focus, to get organized, and the classroom, no classroom is perfect, but at least you have that kind of equalizing environment. We're all here as teachers, we try to control as much as we can to make it conducive for learning. And we lose that control totally when kids are at home. Is there anything that people who are not teaching, who are not involved in education, should know about what this experience has been like? Maybe something like a peek behind the curtain.
We're trying our hardest. We are working. We're not lazy. We're not staying home because we're lazy. We're staying home because we want to be alive when this is over. There's so many, like we lost a dear teacher to COVID in this district. Many of our teachers have gotten the virus in this district. and it's just devastating. There are teachers who can't come back to the building because they're still suffering and they had it 6 months ago. That kind of thing, that just goes on, and we hear it from each other, and people outside don't know that that's why we're staying home. We don't get into this to be lazy. We get into this because we want to do the work.
Yeah.
And this is just hard. It's just very difficult for us to do what we were trained to do. We were not trained to do this, that's for sure.
Is there something that people can do to assist teachers and students, like parents or families or people in general? What can they do to help us and our students right now?
Stop vilifying us. Start giving us the credit that we deserve for hanging in there. There's so many people that just are not able to do this anymore. The list of people who are getting out of education right now is forever long. And people aren't learning to be teachers. What are folks going to do when we all back off and say, hey, I didn't sign up for this? I'm talking to at least 2 teachers a week who say, I'm not coming back, I can't come back, or I need to quit right now to keep my sanity.
Wow.
So if we would stop being vilified in the media, in private conversations. I said at a board meeting last night, on virtual, of course, where people were saying these teachers are so selfish, not wanting to go back in the classroom. Yeah, we want to kind of save our lives. That's pretty selfish, isn't it? The vilification is just destroying us.
And to end on a truly kind of moment of finding the joy, what is something that has happened in your classroom, your virtual classroom, in the past week that has made you smile or brought you joy?
Oh, every day somebody gets it.
Yeah.
Somebody will understand what I'm trying to get across to them. And it's not the same person every day, but somebody will get it. And you can, in the classroom, it's almost like you can see a light bulb go on over their heads. But here, you can hear it in their voice. Or if they're too shy to talk, they'll put it in the chat.